Hello everyone and welcome to the Hype Pod Review. I am Token.
And I am Taylor.
And today we're reviewing On My Block Season 3.
Season 3. Yes, we are. This is a part of our Corona Chronicles. We hope that everybody's staying safe out there, staying sound, and being of conscious. But yeah, we have been able to stream some series that have come out. Okay, I'm acting like this is our first time watching On My Block. This opportunity right now, okay, I don't even know what the fuck is going on. What I'm trying to say is we watched On My Block.
We did.
We watched On My Block, and my feelings towards the characters are still the same. I don't like Monse, and Caesar. I don't like Monse and Caesar. They're annoying. They're self-centered, and basically the entire plot is kind of around protecting Caesar, and Caesar is hella ungrateful, y'all. Hella ungrateful.
Extremely.
And he's not cute either. There was a debate on like Facebook, and they were talking about like, oh, Caesar, is it Caesar or Spooky? And I'm like, first of all, ill, because Caesar's ill. And if we were comparing Caesar and Spooky tramples him in the dust.
I have no opinion. For those of you who haven't had a chance to watch On My Block, take a chance to go ahead, quick binge season 1, 2, 3. The show is about 4 friends: Monse, Caesar, Jamal, and Ruby, and pretty much kind of going through the neighborhood because technically they live in the ghetto. Like there's a lot of gang activity.
They're supposed to live in the hood.
Yeah,
let's not
California.
call it the ghetto. Let's not call it the ghetto. They live in inner city LA.
Yeah.
And the big thing is they live in a Latino neighborhood.
Predominantly, yeah.
Yes, predominantly. And the background is that they're trying to beat the obstacles of their home environment.
Right. Each of them have their own little thing that they're worried about. Jamal is worried about impressing his parents sometimes. Like it started off with him not being a football player like his dad and just kind of lying to him to live up to that standard. Ruby just wants to have sex. Monse wants to have peace. And Caesar just wants to survive because his family are gang members. Santos.
Yes. So within this season, the plot rolls out with them picking up where they left off. They got kidnapped in the last episode of season 2.
Spoilers.
Are we doing?
No, I was just throwing it out there for.
Yes. And it picked up with them being in captivity or whatever, them being captured,
Mm-hmm.
and them showing who captured them, and basically it's like this jefe, who is a woman who has kind of the key to the streets, and she's the head of like this big gang and like drug activity that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially it goes through them finding the mystery of the roller world funds
Mm-hmm.
that Jamal came up on last season. And so they're just kind of going through these obstacles to try to deliver this person that this drug lord is looking for. And ultimately, do they ever find Ricky? He's alive. I don't think they end up finding him. They thought they found him at the end, and it ended up not being him. It ended up being like just a guy that knew who like everybody was that they were looking for.
That's what happened. So they found out he was alive after they did the music video thing, and they went back to the lady's house to confront her, and she was like, you know, you're not gonna find him because he doesn't want to be found. And then they essentially ran out of time with what they call her, cuchillos, knives. And so she was about to come and kill them, but then they made a plan to kill her. So essentially they found out he was alive. They just didn't find him because they ran out of time, and then they ended up killing her.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So let's get into like a character analysis first. The first person I feel like who has done the most growing out of this entire series. Who do you think?
Nah, you was already in that groove.
I would say Spooky.
Ooh, okay.
And then Ruby.
Hmm.
Spooky because Spooky went from like having a lot of resentment.
True.
Not seeing a way out for himself.
Also true.
Wanting the same life that he had for his brother, to realizing that 1, the resentment hurts him the most. 2, he actually does have opportunities if he allows himself to go after those opportunities. And 3, that gang life is not for anybody.
Right.
And like that the streets don't really pay anybody back.
Right.
So I respected that.
True. Agreed. Spooky, like I said, did have a massive change from season 1 to season 3, where he was really kind of, I don't want to say indoctrinated, but he was really bought into the street life, the gang life. And he was like, this is just going to be us, until we die, pass it down to my brother. And it's not a life for anybody, but it's our life. Until he was like crying, like legit, like all he wanted was a dad.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody to look up to, somebody to really tell him he can do stuff. And that was nice, because we all want a dad.
We do all want a dad. And I think that honestly, I thought that his dad was gonna be Ricky. I thought their dad was. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, no, they had him like mysterious. They wasn't really saying his name, so
he looked like Ricky.
A little bit. Yeah.
He looked like Ricky too.
Yeah.
But I appreciated Spooky's character in general.
Yeah. I really like Jasmine. At first she was just this hyper annoying side character that kind of impeded a lot of their adventures until she became part of the group. Not only just part of the group, but she became integral to what they were trying to do. She ended up being like really smart and knowledgeable and very self-aware. And then it even changed to the part where we got to learn more about her, past her zaniness, where we found out she was very self-conscious about herself.
Yeah.
She talked about sex a lot, but we learned that she was a virgin, which was a big thing. And I thought that was really, really interesting for her character.
Yeah, and we learned that she maybe, I don't know about both parents, but definitely lost her mom.
Right, yeah.
So I thought that she was a very transformative character. Ruby. I thought he was transformative as well, because he went from wanting to be cool, caring what like people think, wanting to be this big shot, really having this small man's complex or short person complex, and that completely kind of erased. I mean, he got shot. He lost a girl that he thought that he was in love with.
Yeah.
And then he found that he actually really liked the girl who he had called himself running away from, or thought was so disgusting, which was Jasmine.
Yeah.
And he just found out that all along, like, that is the type of girl that he needs and that he wants. And so I thought that was a very that was like a full circle moment for him as well. And I was glad to see that, because girls like Jasmine never get chosen.
True. Very true.
And she was, and I appreciated that.
Very much so. I think Jasmine and Ruby are probably, other than Jamal and Oscar, I guess, really good actor. Because he had to, like you said, he had to go through a lot of PTSD things. After being shot, a lot of second season was him just trying to get over it. And, Jasmine was a very important part of him becoming whole again. Mm-hmm. And I think that not only kind of instilled a foundation for him, but made him realize how important and intelligent she was.
Yes.
And that's, him going through that, and then having to go through his parents fighting because financial bills, because of his doctor's bills coming up. And, that taking a toll on him. It's like everybody had something going on. Other than really Caesar. It seems like all Caesar stuff was self-inflicted. But we'll get to Caesar in a second. I think another person that I really liked was Jamal. Because he went from kind of like, he's always been hyper and zany. But he went from kind of like scatterbrain, kind of doing a lot of different things, to like really focusing on himself. Like he became interested in this girl. He really took like his passion of finding the roller world money into like his own detective work. And he was really putting stuff together to the point where he was kind of like lecturing his parents on how to be prepared for a lot of things. And I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, we always appreciate a strong back lead.
Yeah.
He was good. He was smart, and the girl was also the same as him.
Pretty much, yeah.
But she was homeschooled, so it was like his equal.
Yeah.
They were both equally weird, both equally kind of unaware of self, and both very, very smart and very passionate about learning.
Yeah.
And I really like that because like we don't see a lot of opportunities where Black people, even now, like in today's TV, we don't see a lot of Black people playing roles like that, and I really liked that.
Indeed, especially for two like weird Black kids to be together.
Yeah, because in real life, it's like weird Black girls and weird Black boys never get to find each other.
They do not.
And I feel like it's because society pits us apart. Like you got the Black boys that's getting ridiculed by people like in our group, and then you got Black girls that's getting ridiculed by people in our group, and so they're so busy looking for acceptance elsewhere that they can't even find it within each other.
Yeah.
Because like I know a lot of just like weird girls that were in school with me, and I know a lot of weird boys, and I'm like, why weren't we like this should have been a thing where everybody was hanging out. Now a lot of them probably did eventually, but a lot of them didn't, and I think that's unfortunate because we're always talking about weird Black boys not being accepted by Black women, but we rarely talk about weird Black women being accepted by Black men or in Black people in general.
Indeed. And I think that's a whole conversation because I don't think we really believe that there are weird Black women.
And there's so many weird Black women. Like, I am a weird Black girl. I'm not the weirdest, and I'm sure there's people that are. And when I say weird, I mean cool. So I'm sure there's girls that are much weirder than me. But I could have been one of those really off the Richter scale weirds. But I don't know. I seem to always be hanging around popular people. Like, I'm not popular. I'm not super cool. I'm still the geeky person that I always was. But I didn't hang out with other geeky people, which I think is unfortunate because they're really cool.
True. Very true.
They try to beat it out of us. Don't beat out that quirkiness for nobody else. Because all those people that are probably talking shit about people that are weird can't read.
Quite a revelation.
Yes.
Outside of the character analysis, obviously I'm.
Oh no, because we need to get on my side because my side is worse as hell.
I want to get to them when we talk about the stuff that we don't like about.
Okay, all right.
Because they're gonna take a lot of time because they're all terrible.
Oh
yeah. Anyway, outside of character analysis, what did you think about the narrative as a whole, the story?
So I think that the narrative was interesting. It was like some sci-fi, but like it was supposed to be realistic fiction. Like the gnome element I think was really cool. I thought the narrative was pretty cool because it's like it had different it revolved around all of them. And I feel like this is something that Stranger Things also does really well, is there's no real central focus on like one character's family. They do a really good job of like spreading that limelight out so that everybody can get some.
Very true.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because just really key connections that make everybody really important to the storyline. Like Jamal is really good friends with Ruby's grandma.
Yeah, very good friends.
Yeah, and then like Spooky started dealing with Ruby's grandma and just like little stuff like that. And then like Spooky and them dad started working for Jamal's dad. Like everybody is really interconnected besides Monse. But
we'll get to that again.
Yeah, like I thought that was I think that's pretty cool. I also think that just the narrative of showing like they showed gang violence in inner city LA without making it so ridiculous. Because there are some stories that are just mild, where people come from neighborhoods that might have some challenges, and their families might be okay, but it just shows how the environment can kind of reel you into some stuff that is completely outside of your home. And I think that that's important to show, because a lot of people don't really understand how these issues still impact people that are in these areas.
Right. So I know a lot of shows and movies kind of really sensationalize gang activity, where it becomes a focus. It almost becomes gratuitous to a certain extent. But I agree. I really did like almost a subversion to certain story beats. Like, it could have been one thing for the dad to return and then that to be a conflict. But for them to kind of almost resolve a lot of past feelings, for his dad to be wise enough to softly talk to Oscar and like really explain what happened. And then for even more so for Oscar to start opening up and be like, I had nobody, you left us behind and all I had was me and Caesar. And how do I raise, a son when I've never been one? And for him to, like I said, for him to cry, for him to really kind of dig deep and really realize that, like, not only is gang life not for me, but it's really not for anybody. And I know if I stay here, I'm gonna die one way or another. I thought that was pretty powerful. Yeah.
And that goes to, like, there was like this shadow of like young looking weirdo kids in purple that were supposed to be the rivalry gang that were sent to kind of muscle up a territory.
Yeah.
And there were some issues that happened, like they beat up Jamal's dad and robbed his store. Mm-hmm. But I really think Jamal's dad ended up really holding his own for the most part.
I'm sure.
But and I want to get back to Jamal's dad in a second. But they put something very important in the end of that. Was one, they made the truce, so they killed the monster, and then they made a truce after Oscar thought to empower the young kids. Mm-hmm. And the leader of like the younger kids crew made a statement and said, because Oscar was saying like, we got to stop this, this violence. We need to be able to coexist. We need to be able to handle business respectively, and we need to have a code put in place.
Right.
Because that's one of the things with like gang activity now is there's really no code, because a lot of the people that established these gangs got sent to jail, so they couldn't pass the code off. Mm-hmm. And so then the respectability within gang culture kind of got lost in the sauce, and now you just got all these kids that are making up their own stuff as they go. So it's really no focus. And they put that in this series. And one of the comments he said was, I want to make it to see my 16th birthday. And I'm like, yeah, because if they really do be this young, like a lot of gang members, like their life's peak at 17, 18, 19, by 20, 21, 22, they dead in jail or strung out, or they've had a trauma where they like, okay, I can't do this no more. Right. Because you get younger and younger, they get wrapped up in the game younger and younger, because we're not fortunate enough to always have guardians and parents and things like that are present and that can afford to get us out of that stuff.
Exactly. Very true. So, speaking of him talking about his 16th birthday, I think we can move into some stuff that we didn't like.
Wait, hold on. Before we talk about what we didn't like, I also like that they made it a point to make Jamal's dad in his life. We actually didn't see Jamal's mom until season 3.
What do you mean, see?
Like, well, maybe she was there, but basically they're showing Jamal's the only black boy in the series. But they were making it a point to be like, hey, Jamal has a black dad that is in his life, and he owns a business, and he does not come from a broken home.
Right.
He has a strong mother, a strong father. Mm. They have strong morale. They work for themselves, and they provide an established life for their son. And I really respected that.
Yeah, and I think that's another big thing as far as subversion goes with tropes. You have a black kid with 2 parents who take really good care of him, a cheerleader for him. His dad is deeply in his life. He owns a small business, and he's all about being independent. You have Ruby, who has 2 parents in his life who actually work like regular jobs and are not just the stereotypical Mexican like landscapers or day workers or something like that. And then you have Monse, who has a single dad which doesn't happen a lot.
I still don't know what Monse was supposed to be. She was literally supposed to be racially ambiguous. I can't think of what her, like, because her dad looked black, but he also could have been Puerto Rican, but they didn't speak Spanish, so I'm assuming he was black.
Yeah, because they said he was a former prophet.
Like Mason?
No, like, you know,
the Prophet, gang. The gang. Yeah. Was the gang black?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so he was black.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And that was the whole, which is surprising to me that a black man and a white woman found each other in LA when there's so many, like, if it would be interracial, I would assume Latino and black, not white and black. But I don't know. Anyway, they had to make a reason why Monse is such a terrible person. And so they thought to make it because her mother abandoned them with no explanation.
Indeed.
I thought that was pretty sick, though, as a mom, to leave your child and then actually have other children with somebody else and act like your family don't exist. That's an issue. I don't care what anybody says. That's a problem.
Yeah, and I think that was another big subversion because we don't often see that for the mom. We see that for the dad all the time, where he goes off with a younger woman or somebody from his office and he makes his whole family and kind of leave his past family behind. But for a mom to do that and to do it as consistently as they talk about, because not only did she leave Monse and her dad, but she tried to leave her second family apparently a number of times.
Yeah, this lady had some real mental health issues going on. They want us to feel bad for her, but I have to kind of say I don't.
Which is fair. Somebody doesn't.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for her. I mean, it wasn't like oh my gosh, she committed suicide. I'm like, oh. Well, that was just a way to that whole side story out because it was bad anyway. Yeah. Because they never really explained why she committed suicide. They never really explained what her issue was with commitment. They don't get into any of that, but I'm okay with that because Monse's not that interesting as a person. And she kind of, just her character was annoying. She was I didn't like the way they made Monse's character. She was very stubborn. She didn't come up with good ideas, ever. Never. She didn't want to be a part of anything, ever. Like, it was like nothing special about her, why she was in the friendship group, and why she was really important to the story at all, besides she was a girl.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, that was primarily it. Because, I mean, it started off season 1. She was the one that wanted them to really be back together as friends. Because apparently Ruby and Jamal didn't want her hanging around Caesar because of some stuff that Caesar had said. But she forced them together. And other than that, she's just been in the way. She's either been trying to play Caesar or trying to play Jamal or trying to play Ruby and complaining when they're trying to do stuff that help them. And she didn't really have any kind of... she didn't have any real part in the story.
No, she didn't do anything. She didn't help find the Roller World money. She wasn't a good detective. She just was there. Like, she was there to have sex with Caesar and to complicate that. Yeah, that's primarily it. Because nothing else was she necessary for.
Right, and that's unfortunate because like Caesar is essentially the same way. Like technically, Caesar is the foundation for the story for the series itself. Yes, because they spent all that time, season 1, 2, and 3, trying to make sure that he doesn't fall into gang activity and he doesn't die, essentially.
But he kind of like does everything in his power to still get into all that.
Yeah, like, there's a certain strange amount of loyalty he felt to the Santos without building that development in. And I'm gonna get to it in a second, but that's why I really hate the ending. But going back, I really love the fact that on like the last episode of the second to last episode that they addressed all of this stuff with Jamal being the one to really discover the roller rink and take all of that on himself, with Ruby actually being the only one who has had like tragic things happen to him, and really confronting Caesar with the fact that he hasn't had all these things. I mean, he had to try to kill somebody, you know, to stay alive essentially in this game, but Ruby got shot and that trickled effect to him having PSD.
And Olivia died.
Yeah.
Because of Caesar. And Caesar's stupid. Like, he's never really, like, he doesn't have any remorse, really. They try to make it seem like he feels bad. He doesn't. No. He doesn't care, and he doesn't do anything to really help himself, like, get ahead. Like when you're in school, like he doesn't do anything. Like exemplary. You work in Jamal's dad's barbecue shop. Mm-hmm. And you do stuff that even disrespects that, because like you had sex in his shop, which is trifling.
Yep.
I think that was just too much. And then like you're very short tempered and you get really irritated like with your friends who only do stuff to help you.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Jamal gave away all that money for Caesar. Yeah. He didn't deserve it.
He didn't, because Jamal risked his life to get that money, because people didn't want that money uncovered because of all the cartel and stuff that was connected with it. So Jamal could have got killed.
He could have. And then he's sitting here giving that money away for Caesar to be safe. Like,
and then he came back anyway. Like, they gave him the money to leave, to get out of there. And he ended up coming back.
He ended up coming back, and he ended up just making stuff back bad. Like, I just, between him and Monse, I was just like pulling my little bit of hair out, because I'm just thinking like, y'all are really hella annoying. Like, I guess it wouldn't be a series without them, but man, like those characters are so, they're so like, they felt like entitled to people's help and support, and I'm just like,
yeah,
why do you feel so entitled to someone else's support? And then you never look out in the same breath. Like, you never do the same for someone else.
Yeah,
like,
neither one of them has helped Ruby or Jamal do anything.
Whenever Ruby or Jamal were, like, going through a hard time, they were completely abandoned by Caesar and Monse.
Completely abandoned.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't appreciate that at all.
Which is why, coming to the very ending, and if you haven't seen the last episode in the very end, watch it first before we reveal what happened. So essentially they all solve everything and get together for one last time as Monse goes off to boarding school. Yeah,
Monse gets to go off to boarding school with her lucky tail.
Yeah. And so they do this epilogue where it's 2 years later. And surprise, surprise, everything has changed. Monse has only essentially loyalty to her friends that she met on the East Coast in boarding school.
So much so that like she doesn't even have the picture of her friends that she took, that she said she would never take away from her bedside, like backed up, like where nobody can see it.
Right. And Ruby and Jasmine are still dating, but they're outside of the circle. Jamal apparently is now a popular football player for some reason, and he's only hanging out with football players. And Caesar, for some reason, is now where Spooky was.
And my thing is, like, Caesar, you don't have enough street cred to ever be the head of somebody's gang. You're weak as hell. Yeah. All the way around weak. You don't make boss moves. You're not street smart. No. You can't fight.
Nope.
And you were scared to shoot somebody, and then when you did finally shoot at them, your gun jammed.
Yeah.
That's like the worst
thing. I think the interesting thing is they didn't have any respect for him. Like, it took
another thing.
Yeah, it took one of Oscar's friends to say something before they actually start helping him out when it came to when Oscar was missing. But my biggest thing with like how it ended is like none of that stuff was built up as where they were going. Like, I get that things change and stuff like that. But in 2 years, Monse would have had to essentially not come back to California at all. Not kept up with them, which is possible.
She was in California.
No, it was on the East Coast.
Oh.
Yeah, so I think if hers make a little bit more sense because she was in boarding school and she was so far away. But as far as like Ruby and Jamal have the best friendship ever.
They do.
Out of the whole series, they're always back and forth, confiding in each other, trying to figure stuff out. They have like this good dynamic. They're both fast talkers. Ruby's like a lawyer. Jamal is like an investigator. And they've always been really close and tight-knit. And there was nothing that really built up to say that their relationship would fall apart. Like, even with Jasmine, who, even though Jamal and her clashed, they had a good dynamic going as well. So for them to break up that little circle doesn't really make any sense. Even if they wanted to focus on their relationship, it doesn't make any sense for me. But more importantly, it doesn't make any sense. Like, Jamal made one really cool touchdown to win them the game. Did not play football since then in an episode. but somehow he became like a jock, I guess.
But did he not play football because he didn't like it? He played football because he didn't like it. I mean, he stopped playing it because he just didn't like it.
Yeah, it wasn't.
So he could be a running back. He could have been a quarterback.
He probably could not be either one of those things with his body size. But
quarterback, running back.
Maybe quarterback. He's not tall, and he's a bone.
Well, it is TV, but yeah. I it's unfortunate to see, but they have to find a way to make a season 4.
I don't want a season 4.
I don't want a season 4. I wish they would just nip it in the bud. I wish that they wouldn't have ended the way they did. I wish they would have ended with like them 2 years later, Monte coming back and like maybe her being a little bit more mature, and then the boy, what's that one boy, like Caesar, maybe having some like being in after school program shit. I don't know, like, what are you doing? And then having everybody just come together and maybe they all meet up at Ruby's house or something. I'm not sure. I would have hoped that it would have been, and then I would have hoped that they would have had Jamal's girlfriend in there.
Yeah, but that's what I also wanted to see.
Yeah.
How did their relationship develop? But I think this is also part, and this is when, for me, the subversion gets out of hand. Because I think we would have expected that kind of thing. Maybe Caesar and Jamal and Ruby are all about to go to college. Caesar has turned his life around and focused on school. Monse may have found a new guy where she is, but she's still keeping in touch. Ruby and Jasmine are good in a relationship, and Jamal is trying to become an FBI agent. And they wanted to subvert that. But what doesn't make sense to me, like I said, is Caesar did not develop any sort of street cred.
He didn't.
Because they was hinting at it when he was talking to Oscar. He was like, what happens if somebody thinks you're weak and takes it over? And he's like, well, Oscar was like, well, somebody takes it over. And, Caesar was getting upset because Oscar didn't want to stay in the game. And it's like,
and my thing is, boy, shut your ass up.
The whole thing, the entire series has been not only trying to not be part of this gang life, but wanting your brother out of it.
Right. So I didn't get that. I'm thinking like,
even your dad told you this is not the life you want, because eventually they traded on me. So I'm still trying to figure out, like, in his line of logic, in his personality, how did he get to the point where he felt it necessary to stay in the gang life, especially when not only did Oscar escape, he got a whole family in a nice house.
Yeah, and grew his hair.
And it looks pretty good.
It looks really nice,
like
and it looks very healthy. Like, that woman is taking real good care of him.
She is.
And you weren't supposed to comment on that. But that's what I thought. Make sure you're getting taken care of. Yeah. So I just, none of that makes sense to me, because it's like, and when I look at Caesar looks weak as hell, and he cried too much. He was like losing. He didn't have any like couth about him at all. Like when he thought his brother was dead, he's all like, "Where is he? You tell me where he is right now." And I'm just like, bruh, like, yeah. And then he was all trying to act like, "Oh, my brother told me if you can always find a trail. There's always a trail. Like, we're out here." And like they were like,
yeah.
Caesar's not a leader.
No, never been.
Caesar's a follower.
Very much.
And he's erratic, and he's unpredictable. He doesn't know any sort of strategy. And I'm disappointed in the Santos for allowing him to lead them into hell.
Absolutely. Honestly, if anybody was going to lead the Santos, it should have been Jamal and Ruby. They would have had them making money like the mafia, just connected with so many people, because they're good at scheming.
And they would have cleaned up their image.
Oh yeah, they would have done a lot of good stuff. But what kind of verdict would you give this?
Season
what is
3
the specifically.
What's the scale? What's the scale?
I'll say binge now. Binge eventually, or don't binge at all.
Binge now.
Binge now.
Binge now.
Binge
I think, yeah, binge now. I think it's I think it's between binge now and binge eventually. Because I think you can go without this, but I think that it was entertaining for me. It's not something that I'll watch twice. And I watch stuff twice.
She watched stuff multiple times.
I watch stuff multiple times. Like,
yeah.
I still watch Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. So I think I'm in a similar camp. Binge it soon. I mean, we're on quarantine, so binge it after you watch this video.
Yeah.
You don't have to watch the last episode because it don't matter. Honestly, it don't matter to the storyline or anything at all. But watch it for Jasmine, watch it for Ruby, watch it for Jamal, and watch it for Abuelita.
And spooky. And their dad was pretty cool.
The dad was surprisingly well put together.
He was really put together. I'm like, damn, you want to change your life? You ain't even like messing around. Like you were. He came in about his action.
Yeah, he knew what he wanted to do. Essentially, apologized.
You know what they did though with that though? His dad was a chef.
Mm-hmm.
Spooky wanted to be a chef.
Oh, I didn't even remember that. That's nice. Okay.
Mm-hmm. That's why he was on the grill. Because he could have been doing something else. He could have been at the pool. They could have been driving. He could have been at a birthday party, baby shower, marriage, anything. Yeah. They put him on the grill because he's a family man. He want to be able to cook and do all that stuff with his family.
Yeah. And that's why I say binge it quicker, because I think the writing is really good. Yeah. The writing is good. The acting, especially for Ruby, Jamal, Oscar, and Jasmine, incredible acting. Honestly.
So everybody besides Monse
and Caesar.
Caesar. No, I
think Caesar was okay. Like, I remember when he was doing when they did the music video and he was trying to dance, like, he legit can't dance.
Well, okay. I don't know about Caesar. What I will say, I'll give Monse some credit. She clearly did some good acting because she pissed me off for real.
I think that's fair to come with that conclusion. Yeah.
Super ironic. She has a really good relationship with her mom.
That's good acting, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. She loves her mom. So.
Anyhow, this has been a review of On My Block Season 3.
Corona Chronicles.
I've been Token.
And I've always been Taylor Made.
And we will see you next time. High Pod Friends.
Peace.